Oil entered a downward correction after rising in the two previous sessions. OPEC Plus is set to hold a meeting later in the day to review the situation in the energy market. Meanwhile, the Russian ruble is easing against the US dollar on falling oil prices. Oil started a correctional decline on Thursday morning, giving up some gains from the two previous sessions. In the early trade, November futures on the North Sea grade Brent fell by 0.85% to $41.86 per barrel. WTI futures for October were down by 1.02% and settled at $39.75 per barrel. This morning, the market saw some profit-taking after oil had been posting gains for 2 days in a row. Thus, in the two previous sessions, both benchmarks added from 6.5% to 8%, while on Wednesday WTI crude rose above $40 per barrel for the first time since September the 4th. Oil prices were also pressured by a bigger than expected rise in the US distillate stockpiles, which include diesel and heating oil. This data raised concerns about fuel demand in the world's biggest economy. Distillate stockpiles rose by 3.5 million barrels last week, whereas analysts had expected an increase by only 0.6 million barrels. According to Vivek Dar, analysts at Commonwealth Bank of Australia, such strong distillate demand is a key point of concern. Meanwhile, the Energy Information Administration announced on Wednesday that US crude inventories fell by 4.4 million barrels for the week to September 11 and ended up at 496 million barrels. The U.S. energy companies began to return their crude to offshore oil platforms in the Gulf of Mexico after Hurricane Sally started to weaken. The OPEC and its allies, led by Russia, are scheduled to hold an online meeting on Thursday. The grouping will discuss compliance with the agreed output cuts, the prospects of demand amid falling oil prices, and a fragile outlook for economic recovery. A panel of major oil producers, including Saudi Arabia and Russia, together known as OPEC Plus, is expected to keep its current output reduction target at 7.7 million barrels per day, or around 8% of global demand. However, the members of the OPEC are likely to insist that Iraq, Nigeria and UAE cut their supply in order to compensate for overproduction. The meeting of the Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee will start later in the afternoon. In the meantime, the ruble is losing ground against the US dollar amid falling oil prices, yet it holds steady against the euro as the single European currency displays weakness across the board. In the morning session, the ruble dropped by 25 kopecks against the dollar and traded at 75.22. Against the euro, the ruble fell by 1 kopeck to 88.57. After a 4-day rise, the activity in the Russian stock market declined and was lagging behind the European market and stock markets of other emerging countries. At the same time, positive dynamics in oil prices provided some support, with Brent quotes rising by 4.1%. Without this factor, the ruble would plunge even lower. In the US, the Federal Reserve confirmed that it will do everything possible to prop up the US economy. The Fed also noted a slight improvement in economic activity and labor market over the past months, which is attributed to strong monetary stimulus. That's all for now. Thank you for watching and stay tuned.